Out of the ashes of Buenos Aires comes first sorrow, then anger.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
In Geneva, the Federal Council convenes.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that human civilization, not insect, dominates this galaxy now and always.
Sky Marshal Beans announces plans for an offensive against Clendathu, source of the bug meteor that destroyed Buenos Aires. Every day, federal scientists are looking for new ways to kill bugs.
Your basic arachnid warrior isn't too smart, but you can blow off a limb, and it's still 86% combat effective. Here's a tip. Aim for the nerve stem and put it down for good.
Would you like to know more? Everyone's doing their part. Are you? The war effort needs your effort. At work, at home, in your community. We now break net and take you live to Fleet Battle Station Ticonderoga, deep inside the Arachnid Quarantine Zone, where the men and women of the Federal Armed Services prepare to attack.
DXQ, uplink on 2, 1, you're on. No one here in the HQZ knows exactly when the invasion of Clendathu will occur, but everyone's talking about it, and the talk says tomorrow. Here's a bunch of MI kids that look like they could eat bugs for lunch.
Yum, yum, yum.
So, Trooper, you're not too worried about fighting the arachnids?
Hey, shoot a nuke down a bug hole? You got a lot of dead bugs,
I just
right?
hope it's not over before we get some.
Some say the bugs were provoked by the intrusion of humans into their natural habitat, that a live and let live policy is preferable to war with the bugs.
Let me tell you something. I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all!
So is a train derailment in Ohio violent or causing harm, right? No, it's not. That's not. But that guy, who robbed that other guy there, absolutely. You get locked up at a $10,000, $15,000 fine. Welcome back to Cream City Social, my friends, and we have another illuminating conversation for you this time. We sit down with Milwaukee Freedom Fund's Nate Gillum, and he tells us all about the 2 constitutional amendments that are going to be on mine and your ballots in 2 weeks on April 4th. But first, we start the conversation with the fundamentals. What is cash bail, and what situations does this cash bail put people in? We had a lot of fun talking to Nate.
We sure did.
What did you take away from our conversation?
I learned a lot about the constitutional amendments here in Wisconsin, and I think that'll be very informative for people making a decision in April. But it made me think about some of the flawed ideas that drive our criminal justice system as well. A lot of people have this idea that if we put more people in jails and prisons, then it'll make us safer. And so many of the aspects of our criminal justice system are designed to keep people in the carceral system when they enter it. And cash bail is one of those things. You can't pay the fine, you have to sit in jail longer. And that is not a very efficient way of addressing crime, unfortunately. It's very expensive to house these people. It's very expensive to build new jails to accommodate them. And it just hasn't really given our communities a very good return on that investment. So regardless of your opinion on the role of police, it's just not good policy, and it's not something we should be doing.
Not going to keep us safe.
No, and it's going to cost us more.
Exactly. But before we hop into the episode, which we're about to get to, I want to try to define a word that Nate uses a lot. And that word is the state. A simple word, but maybe not a word we're all used to. I know I wasn't a couple years ago. But basically the way I think about this word is that it's calling all the governments, different agencies, different departments, different courts, the same thing. One big system that operates as one. And maybe the reason that you need the name the state is that from the perspective of the average person, all of our interactions with the police, the courts, the city, they are all essentially the same interaction. And most often negative. Each is trying to force you to do something that you don't want to do. Whether it's forcing you to pay a fine for speeding, a CPS complaint, and you're struggling for custody. or you're on trial. All these interactions are experienced basically the same way, negatively and with resistance. So it doesn't matter if the county is towing your car because you can't pay for your parking tickets, or it's the prosecutor trying your case. They are all different faces of the same machine, the same system, the same state, as one would say. And so that's kind of what I think about when I hear the word the state, different faces and interactions for the same big machine of government. Does that make any sense, Daniel?
I think so.
That's all I'm looking for. And with that little vocabulary lesson out of the way, here is a very honest conversation with someone making positive change in Milwaukee. Well, welcome. Nate, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, this was all Daniel's idea, so
Appreciate that.
thank you, Daniel. We're here today to talk about constitutional amendments, the Milwaukee Freedom Fund. But first, I think we should lay the groundwork in cash bail. What is cash bail? Can you walk us through exactly how it works and how it's related to the Milwaukee Freedom Fund?
Yeah. So cash bail, I mean, if you want to put it simple, it's a ransom from the state. What you hear from politicians and theoretically how it works is that it is the amount of money that if somebody that is incarcerated or detained, that once they're charged with an alleged crime, the amount of money that will ensure that they return back for their court cases.
So this is in between two different court cases. The initial court case where you get charged, and then you have 6 months to a year sometimes.
Yep. So a person if they are initially supposedly within the first 72 hours, I think by law, they're supposed to be charged with a crime once they're arrested. So sometimes people get arrested and get released, for whatever reason. There's a lot of pathways that, that are in between arrest and actual imprisonment. But if someone gets detained and then charged within 72 hours, that is like, the pretrial decision. So they are held pre-trial. That's cash bail is a part of pre-trial detention. So it's the amount of money that is generally set for somebody in the eyes of the state to bring them back to court.
And how much is cash bail typically? How much do people pay?
So in the state of Wisconsin, we do not have like bail bonds, and some other states do, where you pay like 10% of a bail or something like that. You have to pay the whole bail to release someone here in the state of Wisconsin. So bails vary. They honestly, we've been paying bail for almost 3 years now, and we look at people's charges or history and things like that. There's no rhyme or reason. So it can be as little as, we've seen as little as like $500 all the way up to, $500,000. So not to say we're paying anything like that, but that it can run the gamut. On average, at least people that reach out to us, anywhere generally from, $500 up to $50,000.
And what happens if you don't have the $500?
You will sit in jail until till your trial date, and you are either convicted or found not guilty. So that's what happens.
And even if you're found not guilty, you're still
sitting in, again, pre-trial detention. That is the key thing that I think a lot of people kind of miss, that people are held pre-trial. So they haven't been they're theoretically, technically innocent of a crime, and they're held in jail. So,
and how long is that?
Again, I think you mentioned it. It could be anywhere from a couple of weeks to, honestly, sometimes over years, depending on their case and depending on, honestly, how the state is trying to leverage over this an individual with what's going on with them in their lives in that case particularly. So, yeah.
And so when these people do reach out to you, who are they reaching out to?
We're Milwaukee Freedom Fund. I mean, we started as a protest bail fund in response to the George Floyd uprising. We kind of, myself, my partner, and some other really awesome people, really we're inspired by Minnesota. In comparison to Milwaukee, it looked like they had more resources, like in terms of like support for protesters on the ground and things like that. And we felt there was a gap, so we were like, okay, like let's try to raise a few dollars here and there to try to help out, throw money at people that are gonna get locked up.
Was that the intention?
Yeah. We knew the state's response. Yeah, because some of us, myself, some other people, we've been organizing for a long time. Some people are veterans from different struggles locally in Milwaukee, like Derek Williams or Patrick Hamilton, Seville Smith, different things like that. And some of us are political in different ways and seeing the state's kind of escalated response to protest in the way of like just generally detaining large swaths of people in protest. So like just looking at what happened in Minneapolis and the solidarity protests that started to happen around the country, we knew we had to do something. And so we got together and started a protest bail fund. And so that's kind of the genesis of it. In about January 2021, we shifted over to be a general bail fund. So we got in contact too with people from around the country, honestly, and around the world that have done this like a lot longer than we have, gleaned knowledge and shared information and support in a bunch of different ways. Where we knew this problem, we learned ourselves that this is not just related to protests. Like pretrial detention is incredibly harmful, and it targets Black, brown, poor people. Definitely in Milwaukee County, all over the state. And so we decided, we still have some resources, even though we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on bail, legal support, tickets, and things like that.
How much it was?
Oh yeah,
I was going to ask.
Yeah. It was, and still, like, there's still some cases that are still open for 2020. So we agreed to support, protests and some legal fees with different protesters, especially dealing with the Kenosha issue and like subsequent like Wauwatosa issues and things like that. So,
do you think that worked?
I think it did. It was an act of some harm reduction. But I will say, if we're being honest, the state we're in like backlash mode to 2020 right now, where the state is doing a lot of interesting things to really, if 2020 ever happens again, they're learning from what.
You think they're going to be prepared this time?
Well, yeah, better prepared for themselves. Yeah, more prepared. So I think what we did and what we're doing is a small fraction of some harm reduction, but the state is an incredibly strong institution of harm. And so, we're just a piece of an activist ecosystem that's trying to, support marginalized folks. So, yeah.
So let's talk about some of the harm that bail does. Could you talk about how being incarcerated pre-trial can affect somebody's life, even if it's just a few months?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of studies that exist out there. Like being in jail, maybe 2 or 3 days, could like upend people's lives. They can lose housing, they can lose their jobs. Think about anybody. If you lose your housing, you lose your job. That upends your life.
How does someone lose their housing if they're incarcerated for a few days?
I mean, not being able to work or whatever resource generation they do. That could be a part of it. Also, people are at the mercy of landlords and different things like that, and they hear about this. It might put them in precarious positions as well. So, these are part and parcel of what happens for people being locked up even just a couple of days.
And something I don't normally think about is the families that are involved in that. I mean, there's kids that their dad doesn't come home for 3 weeks, 9 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I don't know that people really understand, like, literally being locked up pre-trial can destroy families. I will say, it's an interesting thing, like, through this work, we have seen some incredible things from people's families to come out and, like, generate support for their person that is, locked up pre-trial, or, just to support them, to advocate to get them out. Like, people, I think that honestly, that's one of the more beautiful pieces of, people accused of some kind of harm, like their people really love them and they want them free. And they themselves, like there's bails that we can't pay. They will raise money themselves to like help pay a bail. So that, like, and this happens, like we don't help everybody in Milwaukee County or anything like that. So, you know, even the people that don't even reach out to us, that don't even know us, like they're raising incredible amounts of money to get their person free, who might go back to prison. You know, they might lose out on that money. So just, I think people need to understand, like, cash bail or even pretrial detention is an incredibly harmful practice. I know it's hard for people to understand that now post, you know, Waukesha